economist at Spartan Capital Securities. Now we move on to our next news. Germany has expressed support for EU-led negotiations on the possible sale of US-made Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine, while seeking to avoid escalation with Washington until at least August 1st. German government spokesperson Stefan Cornelius has said Chancellor Friedrich Merz is working to avoid tariff disputes while pushing for a deal with the US. Let's listen in to the German spokesperson.
Durchaus positive Signale auch von unseren US-Partnern, was das Thema Luftverteidigungssysteme angeht, was das Thema Patriot angeht. Bundesminister Pistorius ist gerade auf dem Weg, gerade im Flugzeug auf dem Weg nach Washington und wird diese Gespräche, diese Abstimmung.
Zwei auch vom Bundeskanzler erbeten worden in dem Telefonat, und der Bundeskanzler hat ja am Freitag noch mal mit dem amerikanischen Präsidenten telefoniert, und im Laufe dieser Gespräche hat sich dann, die sicher über jetzt mehr einer Woche hinzogen, die Zahl erhöht. Jetzt sind wir nach amerikanischer Sicht auf mehr als 2 Systemen, und der Bedarf der Ukraine ist, wie Sie richtig sagen, höher.
Meanwhile, the US has signaled its intent to sell Patriot systems to Kyiv, with President Donald Trump confirming the move as business and promoting Ukraine's very sophisticated military hardware. Trump claimed the weapons would be paid for 100% likely through European funding. Defence Minister Pistorius is in Washington for final talks, while Germany prepares to expand its own Patriot capabilities on the ground in Ukraine. The need for these systems is clear, as drones and missile attacks continue to batter civilian areas in Ukraine. Now we are joined by Eric Wahlberg. He's a political analyst joining us live from Toronto. Thank you, Eric, for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. How does Germany's support for EU-led talks on supplying the Patriot systems to Ukraine reflect its broader strategy of balancing maybe transatlantic unity with the need to avoid escalating trade tensions with Washington?
Oh, yes, it's in a bit of a dilemma. It wants to keep trade with the U.S. going, and it also wants to pursue this policy of really war against Russia, at which Trump came into power. He said he would end the war in 1 day, which clearly meant that there would be no further support for Ukraine by NATO, that Ukraine would be on its own, and it would have to resolve its difficulties with Russia as a bilateral agreement. This seemed to be the intent, and he backed off that over the last 6 months. He started there, and he just backed right back into the Biden position of providing as much military support for Ukraine and with the idea of defeating Russia. So this is now Germany's policy, and it really it can only lead to further war, further destruction. And so I really see that this attempt by the EU to take over from the US and to pursue this war against Russia, that this is really going to just undermine both the EU and the US policies. And if you notice how Trump dresses up his Patriot missiles, he said, this will all be 100% paid for. This is just good business. That's all it is. We just want to promote business. Well, but if your business is producing war, then really that's your business. And it's not just a question of profit and loss. It's a question of world security, world war. So I think this is a very negative policy on the part of Trump, and he is about to announce tonight he is announcing some huge new news. Well, his news will be that we're going to attack Russia. Basically, that's his news, that we're on board with the EU and we're going to try and get regime change in Russia. So it's a very bleak day, in my opinion, about it. what's happening in the world.
And Andrew, now how might Germany's role in this negotiation shape broader EU-US relations, particularly in the context of maybe defense cooperation and looming trade disputes?
Are you addressing me?
Eric, sorry, I'm sorry.
Eric, okay.
Yes.
Right.
Eric.
Oh, you're still, you have, I thought you were giving the other panelists. Well, in terms of US-German relations, I guess this is a good sign, although you can't really, from one day to the next, Trump changes his opinion. So one day he might be all friends with Germany, and the next day he would be bad-mouthing. So I really don't put much value on trying to cozy up to Trump because it usually will backfire. What you have to do is just have a principled policy, and Germany's policy should be one of promoting peace in Europe, not promoting war. So I think that it's a very negative position that Germany's taking, and it will only result in further escalation and further destruction and further deaths. So whether or not the US is on board with this, it's in principle a very bad position.
And Eric, now what does this reveal about the broader geopolitical strategy of the EU?
Well, the EU is the remnants of the imperial powers, England, France, Holland. Germany wasn't so, it had a few colonies, but but generally these are the imperial powers, and they are long, really irrelevant. They're weak economically, they're weak politically. And this idea of the European Union is a farce. There's no unity. There is just discord, and there's a great deal of corruption now. The latest is trying to overthrow the head of the EU Commission, van der Leyen, for her corruption. And it's so bureaucratic that they can't get rid of her. So the EU is in a very weak position. And by pursuing this policy of trying to defeat Russia, its inflation has gone up. It's lost all its cheap oil and gas coming from Russia. It's basically writing its own death warrant. So I think the only future of the EU with its present policy direction is downhill. I really feel very sorry for the EU for what it's doing to itself, shooting itself in the foot, basically.
Thank you very much, Eric Wahlberg, for joining us and sharing your insight as a political